Hello, coaches. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. My name is Kim Cafino, and I have worked with hundreds of teachers, coaches, and leaders in schools around the world to help them create thriving and sustainable instructional coaching programs. And I'm on a mission to help you coach better. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, come learn with us in one of our courses for instructional coaches or our private mentoring packages. Join our global Coach Better community and find all of our resources for instructional coaches on our website at coachbetter.tv. If you have a question you'd like to hear us answer or a topic you'd like us to discuss, please drop us a line on our website at coachbetter.tv/ask. Join our Coach Better Facebook group or find us on social media at Eduro Learning and send me a DM. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch all of our latest episodes here on YouTube. Today's episode is another in our very special series featuring live coaching calls with one of my clients. Today, I'm coaching Cary Hart, elementary school learning and information technology facilitator at the Carroll Morgan School in the Dominican Republic. Over the years, I have had many requests to see and hear what a coaching conversation looks like in practice. This can be really hard because for the most part, those conversations need to be private. It's hard to be vulnerable in a space that will become public. It's hard to have a conversation about challenges when you know others in your very small community could hear them. But my client, Cary, has very generously offered to have one of her coaching sessions recorded so you can get a peek into what these conversations look and sound like. This is part of our series featuring coaching conversations, so if you like this one, keep your eyes peeled for the rest in the series. I'm so excited to share this conversation with Cary because you're going to hear how having a coach from outside your school community can take a very complicated situation with a lot of layers, details, and complexity through targeted questions, paraphrasing, and intentional focus, surface a simple and systemic solution. The challenge Cary presents in this call is one that if you've been a tech coach in particular will be very familiar to you. So some aspects of the solution here might be immediately applicable to your school setting too. The key is, and what I invite you to look for in the conversation, is the ways that Cary was able to share the different dynamics of her challenge, and through my paraphrasing, questioning, and identifying the root cause of the issue, we were able to move into a deeper discussion of potential solutions that address all of the layers to this challenge she's been struggling with. A few things to point out before you listen. Cary is a graduate of all three of our certificate programs, and we've been working together for a few years now. If you want to see what it's like to work with me in our programs, this gives you a really good insight. Plus, because of that, we know each other well, and some of our conversation is a bit shorthand. This is more of a consulting conversation because I have a good understanding of what's going on in Cary's setting, how she works, and what she needs. Because we have a long-standing relationship, we can move through conversations quickly, really jumping into the heart of the matter. Of course, every conversation is different, and every coaching relationship is unique. So that's why I'm sharing a variety of conversations with different clients in this series. After the conversation, I'll come back with a few thoughts to wrap up the episode.
What I don't want to do is to turn someone off of working with us. Maybe not me. Maybe they don't get along with me. That's fine. They can work with one of the other ladies, but they don't I don't want someone saying, I don't want to deal with lit because they're always pushing me to do stuff I don't want to do. Right? I don't want that being what someone feels. So I'm trying to make sure I feel it out so that it's like the teacher that came in today and like yesterday, last minute, like in the, because she's been sick for a week and she's been trying to organize this, but she's been sick and I was like the last cog and I think she kind of knew I was going to be okay with it. So she waited to deal with me. And she was like, we want to do some interviews and can we use the green screen? We don't actually need green screen. We just need a quiet place to interview. And I'm like, sure. And she was like, but could you like tell all our kids like how to do it, like how to videotape this? And I was like, sure, I can tell your kids. And she's like, it might be all of grade 3. And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And so, and she the whole time was going, this is awesome. This is so awesome doing this with you. And I was like, this is how I want to do it. So, this is great. And so I want teachers to be like that and not be like, oh no, here comes Cary. like, what is she going to make me do today? So
yes,
I think
that is super relatable. I don't want them to think, oh no, here comes Cary. Okay, so do you want to just start with that one piece that relates specifically to teachers? Because you talked about teachers, leadership team, and your own team. And my first question was going to be, which of those do you want to start with? But then you kind of started yourself that you want to get to that point where you don't want someone to be turned off working with you. And it sounds like in that context, it's primarily teachers that you're thinking about.
Right. Yeah.
So I think the first question I would ask you is, what are you doing that's currently successful? And where do you think things are maybe not working the way you want?
So I think one of the things I'm doing that's currently successful is I'm trying to follow up. Like I'll send an email and say, hey, I have in your curriculum plans that this and this and this is what's coming up. Is that correct, or is something else? So I'm showing them that I'm willing to do the work if the documents are up to date, or the documents that have the curriculum information are where I can find it. I'm willing to do that work and find it. And then I follow up and I try to stop by and ask them, because they don't always get back to me right away, which is fine. But hey, have you had a chance to see that? Is that what you're working on? And that kind of thing. I'm also trying, because I'm a standalone drop your kids off class, integrating heavily in the content is not really possible because there's no opportunity for more than once a week lessons. So I'm not trying to do a really big in-depth embed into the curriculum. And so when I'm asking for content, I'm kind of not then pestering them for the nitty gritty about what they're doing. So I'm just getting the surface level content, and I'm kind of leaving them alone with that. So I'm trying to make connections where I can, but not sort of force them into something that's more than is possible at the moment. I mean, yes, I could do lots of other things. Well, there seems to be a lot of free time in my schedule, but it always seems to be taken up with us planning or some, iPad catastrophe or something that happens in the middle of, stuff that happens. And so I'm trying with teachers to be like that. And then what I am trying to do is focus everything through the team leaders. That being said, I'm not 100% certain that's the best solution at this school. I am not sure how the communication channels exactly. One team seems to be fairly good that I can tell the team leader what's going on, and they know about it by the time I come to them and talk to them. The other team, there's a little less depth about what's going on, and I'm not sure how. So that's where I'm learning sort of like how much I need to communicate with the whole team versus just the team leader, because I was very used to in Moscow being able to just funnel everything through the team leader, and they disseminate it because I didn't want to be constantly sending emails, and the team leader knew when was the best time to make that, let them know that you needed to book Cary for 3 sessions in order to do this project or whatever. So I'm sort of trying to learn all these things, and all of this is like stuff you have to learn in a new school anyway. So it's all part of the whole switching schools, learning new things. And personally, I'm having to like rein the horse in. I'm going to use a horse analogy. So put on the brakes and do some woes, because it's a struggle for me not to push to where I know it's possible to do, and I know the school could get to, probably really quickly. But it's, I just have to be like, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I want to dig into all these, but I think that having to put on the brakes and not pushing as far as, the school could go, and like working at the pace of the school, that's really hard. But you're already conscious of the need to do that. And I think that's like where you're in a situation, and we talked about this the last time we chatted, where you're kind of living in a different timeline than the people in the school. You're living in a timeline where you know exactly what this looks like and exactly how this could work. And they're living in a different universe where they don't know. And it's not their fault they don't know. And we have to figure out how to kind of merge that in a way that feels safe and achievable and reasonable for the people who are going to have to change their practice. And maybe they're not changing the way they think about teaching and learning, but if you change the structure of the school day by not having drop-off classes, it impacts a lot of things. And, you know, I've been through it. You've been through it. It's not an easy switch. And it doesn't matter that it's coming at a time that seems like it was in your past. Like, it also feels that way for me. This is their present and their future, right? So recognizing that, I think, is like a huge thing. And
I have to say that I haven't had anybody slam on the brakes with me for anything. Like,
so that's good.
And yeah, I haven't. They just don't. It's almost like it's not like no. It's more like, why are you doing this? Like, why are we involved in your why do we have to have this conversation with you? Like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And it's not like a trying to get out of it kind of a why. It's a more of a like, I don't
genuine confusion.
Genuinely, like, why are you involving me this? I've never been involved in this. Why am I? It's I mean, I can understand. I guess it's kind of like the music teacher just showing up in your classroom and being like, so what are you doing in science?
Yes.
Like, what? Wow, how do these two connect? What's the thing? So I can understand, and because we don't have a clear, as a team, we haven't really clarified where we want to go exactly with everything. So if we had a clarity, like, you know, we want to do 6 weeks of robotics in every class, and we want to do 5 weeks of coding in every class, and we want to do something even as detailed as that, and maybe even less detailed than that. We don't have that solidified yet. And so because of that, we can't really present that to the teams and be like, hey, this is why we're asking you for content and stuff. It's just sort of me coming in and being like, yeah, this is what you do. Like, and my team was like, so why do we need to know all this stuff about their curriculum? And I was like, because do you want to teach content? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, then get content from them.
Right.
You know, like,
so I'm hearing you solve your own problems as we're talking. The first problem the first solution that you have identified here is some level of clarity, and whether it's clarity about what you're teaching in your class, or even clarity about how the class is going to work now that there's a new team. I think that's going to get at the confusion issue that you're talking about. Because if people aren't resistant and they're not like running away when they see you, like you said, they just are like, I don't understand why this is happening. I think it sounds like, and it sounds like as a team, because I know this has so many different layers, it sounds like as a team, you also don't have a vision of what you want this to be. And I'm wondering if part of that is because you're reconciling your initial impressions of what you would be doing at the school versus the reality of what you have uncovered being at the school, which we have all been through. Anyone who's moved from one school to another knows exactly what you're going through. So I wonder if now is like the point to pause and say, okay, this is where the school is. This is where I wanted it to be, but this is where the school is. And so let's make a vision. And I know, I've heard this phrase in lots of schools that work with fieldwork education. What is your like temporary fixed position right now for your vision for your program? It's not your long-term vision. It's not what you want to do, 2 or 3 years from now. It's not the potential of what the program is, but knowing what you have right now, you have constraints, you have the fixed schedule, you have the lack of knowledge or understanding of what this program could be on all fronts, right? Your team, your leadership, and your colleagues. You know exactly the equipment you have, the time you have all those things all mapped out. So maybe instead of feeling like you're reining yourself in, which I know you're still going to feel that way because you have so many ideas and you're so excited and you want to move forward, maybe you say, okay, given these parameters, this is what we're going to create. And this is our clarity of vision. And then you work backwards from there saying, this is what we want to achieve. How can we educate both the teachers and the school leaders and the team on what that's going to be like, look like, feel like, sound like in practice.
And we've tried that. And the problem we run into is every time we sort of get some headway with that, we're like, all right, we have
This is it.
This is it. Someone comes up with a new idea for something for us to cover. And that's something that's actually a meeting that we're set to have, is like sitting down and being like, are these new ideas possibilities, or we should stop and we should pivot and do that?
Okay, so I have a thought about that.
And I think that's technology. I think that's
yes.
Innovation and technology. There's all of these, like, people are constantly going, oh, look, have you seen this? You know, they're doing animatrons. Oh, look, have you seen this? They're doing da da da. And it's like, yeah, okay, I don't have time. And I got so many things I can cover in a year.
Okay, so here I think is a strategy that we can do with that. Instead of saying, this is what we're going to teach in a year, it's robotics, it's coding, it's it's, we have room for 8 units in a year. Right. This is the way we're going to do this thing. This is the way it's going to look to students. This is the way it's going to feel, sound, whatever, all those pieces. And those boxes are empty boxes. But we have 8 of them, or however many that you have. And if you're taking one thing and you're replacing what's in the box, that's fine. But that just means something goes out of that box. But I think the framework of what the box looks like, what it involves for teachers, what it means for leaders, what it means for your team, I think that can all be very consistent, regardless of what's in. Like, I'm totally nerding out. Like, we talked about IKEA right before we got on the call, and I'm like imagining an IKEA magazine with like shelves, and I can pull the box in and out. Yeah, exactly.
With the fabric boxes in it. Yep.
Exactly. Yes. So, I think that if you can come to an agreement with, given the state of the program that it is today, this is how the program works, and then you can start pitching and communicating that to teachers, then people can come to you and say, oh, I really would rather have this in the box than that, and you can actually replace it. Thanks for watching this coaching call with Cary. I hope you found it valuable. This conversation and the many other conversations I have with experienced coaches really demonstrates the different ways that experienced coaches have opportunities to be leaders in their school setting. This conversation was specifically about tech coaching, but if you happen to listen to the case study episode with Nicola Millward from a few weeks ago, it doesn't matter what curriculum area or focus you have. All instructional coaches need systems and structures in place for coaching to be sustainable. In Cary's case, she was new to the school and looking at how to build those structures, but this can be a challenge whether you're new to the school or you've been there for years. If this conversation resonated with you and you're curious about embracing your leadership as an instructional coach to see the ways that you can scale your impact and build these systems and structures in your school setting that are needed to make coaching sustainable, make sure to watch our free workshop for experienced coaches, Scaling Your Impact as an Instructional Coach. You can find it at edurolearning.com/scale. After you've been a coach for a few years, you know that you can't just keep working one-to-one with every colleague on staff. That's a ticket to burnout. Scaling your impact requires that you shift your mindset from seeing yourself as just a coach to seeing yourself as a leader, so you can create and advocate for the systems and structures that make coaching sustainable for you as an individual coach and for your coaching program in your school. Watch the workshop at edurolearning.com/scale. And if you discover that you need support as you go through the process, join us for our first global cohort of Coaches as Leaders, designed for experienced coaches ready to advocate for and build the systems and structures that are needed to truly sustain a coaching culture. In Coaches as Leaders, we'll help you recognize exactly which systems and structures you need and might be missing in your school setting so you can make your coaching culture sustainable. And you can scale your impact beyond working one-to-one to working with teams and groups. Registration opens only once a year. Get all the details at edurolearning.com/CAL. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. If you're curious right now and you have questions, please reach out. You can leave a comment on the show notes on our website at coachbetter.tv. You can join our Coach Better Facebook group, or you can find us on social media at Eduro Learning and send me a DM. I'd love to support you in your coaching journey. See you next time.